Alright, so behind me we're doing what's called a super shelter. I consider a super shelter to be more of a modern shelter because you need a sheet of plastic to complete it. Now it's basically you start out the same way you do as a lean-to, and we got a ridge pole that from tree to tree that runs horizontally. And then you're just going to take a few, probably for a span of 8 feet, you're just going to take about 8 rib poles that run from the ridge pole down to the ground at a slope. And then you're going to cover that with plastic. Now the super shelter is more of a cold weather shelter. It's really warm and water resistant, because as long as you don't poke any holes in your plastic, it's going to keep water off of you. You're going to make a bed on the ground with leaves, you know, a few inches thick, that'll help keep you warm up off the earth. You lose a lot of heat through the earth. And then once you get that plastic over the top, you're going to put some pine boughs on top of it. You don't need a lot of pine boughs. The pine boughs are more of a catch to hold the leaves in place. So once you get the pine boughs up, you heap your leaves on top. Typically on a primitive shelter, the leaves are to help sheet off the water, but the plastic helps with that. What the leaves are for is insulation, and it's going to hold that heat inside the shelter. So they're going to get going on this, and I'm going to take you around and show you what we got going on. Alright, so we got our ridge pole along here, and we got our ribs coming down. Now you can see the ribs we're going to keep below the ridge pole. That way when you throw the plastic over, it doesn't rip. This long one's going to need to be cut, but we'll do that here in a second. And then we're just using a clove hitch on the ridge pole, wrapping around a few times on the rib pole, and then we're going to do frapping to hold that really solid in place. Alright, so we've got our completed super shelter back here behind us. Take you around here real quick and show you what it looks like. Obviously on the back side we got leaves piled up. The leaves don't need to be terribly thick because it's not for waterproofing it, it's more for camouflage and for insulation. So we probably have maybe a foot and a half on the back for that purpose. As you saw before, maybe, I forget, but anyways, we have the plastic on the outside. The plastic covers both ends, if you can see in there, and plastic goes over the top. Now this is the inside of the super shelter. See, we just have a few ridge poles or ribs on there holding that plastic back. That makes this guy completely waterproof. It's basically a standard lean-to with smaller poles, but the roofing is plastic. We got a nice layer of dry grass on the bottom, and then there's plastic on both sides here, as you can see. And then when you want to sleep, we're just going to pull the plastic down in front like this, and then down here at the bottom we got a log. We can take that plastic and tuck it down so it keeps it from blowing up, so there's no wind in there. This shelter is very warm in the winter. Keep you dry, keep you warm, keep the wind off of you, keep the weather off of you. If it's super cold, you would build a fire out here. Now before we built the fire, we'd have to clear some of this out so it's safe. But the heat from the fire would radiate through the plastic into the shelter. It would get trapped in there because we have the insulation of the leaves on the back, and you would stay super warm. Now if you could also, if you had one of those, the reflective blankets, you could line the back of this with a reflective blanket, and it'll keep you super warm. It will reflect the heat back at you. Here's the last shot of our completed super shelter. Now obviously this is a bit of a primitive shelter, a modern shelter because of the plastic on it. But if you know you're going to be in an area for a while, this is probably one of the better shelters to keep you warm, keep you dry. You just have to pack in that plastic and set up camp, and you're good to go. But that's it for now. There's your super shelter. Hope you learned something, enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.